Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV, fan chat time. We've got Daz, Darren, Frankie, and we've got a special guest on the way. How's everybody feeling? Daz, after the weekend?
It's been a good weekend, isn't it? You know,
Very good weekend.
Good to see us. Good to see us scoring more than once. I thought Tranmere kind of gave us a bit of a game for what it was worth, and it's nice to walk out on the right side of the late goal.
Absolutely. I think there's a few saying the Adama goal was offside. It looks very close, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the Adama one probably just about. I think we were offside last week at Fleetwood as well, for what it's worth. I think Presley's offside last week, but we won't go there.
Well, we have quite often it goes against us. Certainly got to give applause, and I did give a comment on the match day vlog. Joe Murphy, what a performance he put in!
Yeah,
the saves he made. Absolutely.
Apart from having to go at the ball boy, which slightly saved it, but yeah, some humorous songs as well, which I thought were quite good as well. Yeah,
I didn't realise until after the game it was the same Murphy that played for us all those years
20 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Was it Joe Murphy who went and chinned someone at Blackpool? Daz will probably know.
I remember that, but probably.
I'm sure it was Joe Murphy who ran out and chinned someone and got sent off at Blackpool. Yeah, I'm sure we'll research that, but I'm sure it was him.
Frankie, obviously great start to the season. And yesterday we were talking after the game, weren't we? Sort of entertaining, full of energy. That's what we like to see, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think that's our most entertaining performance yet. More than I did. It was good. 4 goals. I don't think we'll be seeing that again for a long time. And under this Sadler ball, but it was fun. It was a good game. Kanu shone again, and we're definitely losing him in January.
I can't take that. Yeah.
I've got a list of 8 things to discuss.
Yeah.
So I'll take 2 of them off, and we'll do a dice for what we're going to discuss first. You ready? I just want to ask the question before we go into that. 19 points from 9 games. Has anybody looked and saw where we were last season after 9 games?
It's the same, isn't it?
No, we're a point up.
Oh.
We're a point up on last season.
Functionally the same.
In the same position.
I don't know about league position, but I mean point wise.
Yeah.
Right then,
Darren, Simon, Darren's right. Red card at Blackpool.
There we go.
I genuinely can't. Mind you, it was May in Blackpool, so there's probably it was spring in Blackpool, so the likelihood of remembering anything.
I'm sure the keeper who come on saved the penalty. I'm sure, but I'd have been what? How old was I? 16, 17 then.
Dean Coleman came on.
There you go.
Dean Coleman.
There you go. And I don't want to make anybody feel old. It was 20 years ago.
Oh,
I was going to say, if it wasn't for Daz looking off the screen, I'd think he'd got a great memory.
Mate,
I'll have to look on the screen. I knew it was longer than 10 years ago, which is why I looked. But yeah, his last appearance, red card.
First point for discussion, and the comments have sort of tied in with it as well. Carl Harbridge, are we going to be in the same situation with Kanu as Lowe in January? Please God, Charlton don't recall Kanu, says Big Papa Danny. Yeah, that was on my list. Cover for Kanu. I think that's our biggest concern at the moment, isn't it?
Simon, they should be planning this now, and it should have been.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're already got it in planning.
Well, they didn't plan it last year, did they? Because they signed a Bromley reserve, and we won't get. Let's be positive.
Right then, Daz. Look, let's go, Daz. What will we do if? What's the cover for Kanu right now before January?
There's not a lot, is there? To be honest with you, I'm guessing Rico Richards is what cover that we've got in the squad. In answer to the original post that was asked, I really do hope we've got a problem in January, because that means he scored a bag full of goals. Carl, I hope we can solve it better than we solved it last year. I think we're unlucky, but I hope he's got a bag full of goals and everybody's after him, because we're in a good place.
Yeah, I think that's a positive way to look at things, isn't it? I think looking on the scared side of things, if something did happen before January, Charlie Ragg, he's knocking him in for Hales Owen, is it? Would he be drafted in if something happened to Carnu? Or would we try and cope with it with Rico Richards and Adama? What do you think, Darren?
Well, I mean, that would be an awful lot of pressure to put a young kid under. But, you know, I've always been a big fan of getting, you know, like Mayer. I'm sure we'll come into him at some point, but getting those players at least on the bench. But I don't think it's nice that we can have that recall option, but I don't think we should be. Well, we shouldn't be in that situation at all after the transfer deadline day shenanigans, which I'm sure we might touch on. But yeah, I mean, that would be a worst case scenario, which is not too bad. You know, give him a chance, but I don't think we should be putting too much pressure on him.
I'm not sure of exactly how many games we've got before January, but it's only like 8 weeks, isn't it? And we're only playing sort of once a week at the minute, so it's probably 9 games perhaps. So it's not as big a risk, is it?
Yeah, I'm mentally scarred from last season still, and the last 3 January. Well, we've never had a good January since the Scott Dan Fox debacle, have we? So
No.
I genuinely can't remember the last time we had a good January window. Couldn't tell you.
Well, let's move on from that desperate thought.
15 games.
On to Frankie.
15 games, Simon.
15 games to play.
Before, including January the 1st, 15 league games.
Okay, nice one. Frankie, the challenge, of course, is keeping him fit and keeping him moving. So, how are you feeling about it? If he was to get injured, would that sort of kill us, or do you think we'd cope?
I don't think we have a good enough replacement, as we have a Port Vale Cam, who's a reject. We have 2 old strikers, one who's knackered, and the other one is a left winger. So I don't see the greatest replacement in terms of anyone to take him goal scoring wise. And I think it would be like before he got him, before Salford, where it's a bit more. Where's the next goal going to come from?
We're a bit nervous. Got a comment coming in here. Adam was a great impact sub, but as a starting striker, he's as the new phrase they come out with, finishers coming on the pitch. He's a perfect finisher, isn't he? Also got a comment on here. Got Gabriel coming on to us in a second. I don't think Presley and Matt are strikers. They'd be better behind the strikers to bring the ball down and feed the strikers. Not sure about that, James. But I understand what you're getting at, but I'm not sure whether that's what we would do. Could we recall Levi? Not until January, I don't believe. Right then. Let's bring in our EFL man, Gabriel Sutton. How you doing, Gabriel?
Hi, Simon. Good to see you.
Good to have you with us.
Hi, guys.
We were just talking about Daniel Carnu and the potential risks of what would happen if we sort of lost him before January.
Not another one, another loan recall.
We certainly hope that's not going to happen. But it's good to have you on the show. Just want to get your thoughts on the game on Saturday. I do have several areas we're going to touch on with player specifics, but I'd just like to get your view on the game overall.
I think I felt like although you scored 4 goals, I actually thought it wasn't like a super creative performance from Walsall, I would say. I think a lot of it was like it was 2 brilliant strikes from Evan Weir, one from the free kick and the other from open play, and he had a brilliant afternoon. A lovely solo goal from Daniel Carney, who we may have mentioned, who looks like a real live wire, doesn't he? And then a bit of a breakaway for Albert Adoma, and I quite liked his celebration on the crutches. A bit of humour there, but I think it was a case of some really good individual moments as opposed to Walsall absolutely carving Tranmere Rovers open a lot. So definitely room for improvement, but I think a deserved victory.
Yeah, I thought Tranmere were good actually. Daz, were you impressed with Tranmere? You've got your switch yourself on, mate. We've got you on mute, I think.
Sorry. If I'd have been a Tranmere fan, I'd be really disappointed on the way home. I thought they put a lot into the game, and defensive woes cost them. I never thought we were safe. I thought Tranmere much improved from the last time I've seen them. They kind of mixed it, went long, played a little bit. That I'd have been disappointed driving home as a Tranmere fan that I got on the wrong end of that one.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they were a good side. Their front few, particularly Davison and Ironside, total handful. Burke had his most difficult game, I think, didn't he, Frankie?
Yeah, I think those front attackers are perfect. The one from, is it Ironside from MK Dons? No, not MK.
Doncaster.
Doncaster, yeah, he's been round a bit, hasn't he?
Good signing, and then also had his name Patrick.
Amari Patrick.
Yeah,
Amari Patrick. Like if we went up, I'd want him. He's one of the players I'd like to take if we went up.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice indeed. Right then, we're just talking about Carnu, as I said. Charlie Ragg. You probably don't know much about him, Gabriel. But Charlie Raggs did well in pre-season, scored a couple of goals in pre-season for us. He's currently at Hales Owen and playing regularly there and banging the goals in. So I think as an emergency, maybe that is possible. But Rico Richards, do you know anything about him?
Yeah, I think Rico Richards impressed me at Port Vale last season. Didn't necessarily start loads of games, but he was a real impact made a real impact from the bench quite a lot for Vale and helped them score a lot of late goals because of that. He's more of a withdrawn forward, so he kind of operates in the pockets. But I agree with I think it was a guy called Martin, wasn't it, in the comments, who said, because I think I saw immediately after Jamil Mack came on, there was a reduction in Walsall dropped off a bit, and it's nothing against Jamil Matt. Like he's been a really good League Two target man over the last 10 years. One of my favourites, of that type to watch at this level, and he's had a brilliant career for himself. But I think we're at the tail end of that now, and I just don't think he's got the legs. If he wasn't sort of finished in terms of legs and legs and athleticism last season, I think he is this season. So I wouldn't want to be relying on him in the sort of the rooster of 4 strikers this season. Certainly, once you get to January, I think that area is going to be looked at. Yeah,
I think last season he did incredibly well for us and held the line really good, led the line really well. But I think it was almost his swan song. And the fact that he'd said to some that he was going to retire if we'd have got promoted, it sort of tells you everything that you need to know with that. Next subject I want to talk about is Lewis Warrington. So we go to Darren first. I just want to sort of kick things off. When we first saw him, I thought, what have we bought in here? What's happening? He's hopeless. But I think he's improving a lot. Darren, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's improved. I thought he looked a little leggy actually yesterday. I sat next to my dad and I thought we looked that last 10 minutes of we we almost needed half time, but then Evan Weir scored that like rocket. I felt we needed, everyone around us was saying, I feel like we need half time here because they were building up ahead of steam. So I think it's good that we have, I don't think he's at Stirk level, but he does a job in there, doesn't he? With Sadler football, he protects and he must do some yards running. I'd like to see his stats for running. So I'm not surprised. But we could bring Comley on then and like shore it up a little bit. But I thought my impression was that he was getting a little bit leggy, but he was 100% improved. I think that's just fitness, right? After that first couple of games, you could tell he'd not played first team football this season. So yeah, I think a wider point is around keeping that squad fresh with Sadler ball. That we need to bring Comley in or any of those 8 to get through a hell of a lot of work too. That
was the mistake last season. I think Matt Sadler's definitely learnt from that, hasn't he, Daz? He seems to be rotating things a lot more, and specifically Warrington. Love to hear what you think of him as well.
Possibly, he probably has learnt a little bit. You can see with the wing backs that he's been unlucky with the injury at left back. But he got 2 in, which was one of a fatigue was what killed us. Fatigue and then lack of confidence that came from it was what killed us in the end. Warrington, I'm not in the he's fab class. I'm not in the he's rubbish class either. I think there's a bit to learn. I noticed Gab mentioned something yesterday on Twitter. I think he's probably right for what it's worth. I want to say a bit more of Warrington before I'm quite as entrenched in that, and I'm not using entrenched in the right way. I think we're a 6. I think we're 6 away from being a really good team. I think we're a really good 6, a Martin O'Connor 6 away from being really, really good.
Yeah. Gabriel, thoughts?
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I think Lewis Warrington's a decent footballer, so I'm not saying this to kind of disrespect him. He actually had a spell at Tranmere a couple of years ago where he was very highly rated there, so I definitely think he's got some ability. And actually, maybe even from a sort of footballing, technical point of view, I'd maybe have him a tiny notch ahead of Ryan Stirk. The problem I would have is that when the opposition get past the 2 number 8s who are going to be very aggressive, whether that's, whichever 2 that is, you probably need your 6 to be very good at kind of snuffing out problems. And I know that's, maybe that's a lot to ask someone who can do that and also play. But I just think for the way that Walsall operate, especially with having wing backs very high up the pitch and aggressive 8s, there is a lot of defensive responsibility on whoever plays in that number 6 role. Now, I think Lewis Warrington is actually quite defensively disciplined, but I just think when it comes to the physical and aggressive side, I think he can be found wanting a little bit. So that's the area that I'm just thinking, can Walsall, when it comes to January, can Walsall maybe just revamp that area?
Frankie, we were talking yesterday. Your dad not keen on him at all, is he? What's your thoughts right now?
It's the same like Dad. It's a bit confusing. Like some games he looks really good, and it's similar. I think with Finnegan, where like some games they both look really good, and then the other game, on the other hand, they can like look like a disappointment. You just like want more from them. Like against Grimsby, Warrington could have lost the ball a little bit, and it's like they go. He can keep the ball. He can keep the ball well, but when you want him to like pick up or defensively, he can't. He doesn't do that, and he doesn't make the runs that you want to see. He doesn't. That's the thing. If you compare him to Stirk, he's just not as good, and he doesn't make the right runs in the right places at the right time. And we need the midfield because everyone knows we don't have a midfield at the moment. They're quite non-existent in attack. And I feel like with a good CDM, he could be like, he can make the right runs and be the right player. And like Comley, he's a different example, but he's a bit too old. I think he just needs a little bit of improvement, get his head down, get used to tactics, and maybe eventually he will be a good enough player for us.
Okay.
Right, really.
For me, I was very critical of him in his first few games. He looked a right mess, to be honest. And he's settled down a lot. The last couple of games, I've been impressed with him. He's very composed on the ball. And there's a couple of opportunities yesterday where the ball came to him. And he just didn't panic on the ball. And he just calmly laid it off. And there's a few challenges flying in. And it came to him and he just turned and just laid it back to Flint just to take the pressure off. And I think with Warrington in the team, I think we're starting to keep the ball a little bit better, which has been our biggest problem. Something I want to throw in, Ryan Finnegan, he spent a lot of his time at CDM. So maybe at some point he might slip into that. On an interview recently, he was talking about it was quite a rare thing for him to be playing further forward. So maybe Finnegan, who's only likely to be with us till January, we need to remember, is perhaps somebody that we could try down there against maybe, I don't want to say lesser teams, but against some of the teams that are more likely to sit in, that we need more creative midfielders. It might make sense to have him sort of pull him back to there a little bit. Next subject I want to look at, I was going to roll the dice, but I'm sort of running around with things now. Just want to touch on a little bit of news. Cheltenham, heavy defeat at home to Oldham yesterday. Mike Flynn, former Walsall manager, of course. He did save us from relegation, as we touched on just before the start of the show. But I think it just sort of reminds us that Matt Sadler, in recent history, is one of our best managers. And so I just want to throw that out there. But the comedy moment is, of course, Mike Flynn totally accepting responsibility for his team's plight by stating it's the worst squad he's ever had to manage, which is quite sad, really. Your thoughts on Mike Flynn, Gab, just briefly?
Yeah, just briefly. I think it's obviously been a tough start for him at Cheltenham Town, and it's been a difficult summer. A lot's been sort of questionable behind the scenes. But I think I just want to come on to your point, Simon, there about Matt Sadler. It's funny because I felt like when at the back end of last season, there was a lot of sort of criticism of Matt Sadler, and it felt like it was very quiet on that when I was there on Saturday. It feels like a lot of fans are kind of just they went in quite hard on Sadler at the end of last season, and now the fan base seems to be in that position of okay, we're it's going okay at the moment. We're just seeing where things go, sort of thing.
Yeah, it certainly helps when you're winning. Again, I was talking to folks after the game on Saturday. If Walsall were to lose 2 or 3, I think that would perhaps change very quickly. But when we look at the stats at the end of last season, under Matt Sadler's tenure, 41% win rate puts him at the 5th best manager since the 80s.
Right. But this is what I would say, Si, and this is what I would hope on a more serious point. I know I'm speaking from an outside perspective, and it's not the same, as if I was a Walsall fan. I totally get that. I just think that you've got to there'll be difficult moments this season, and that's when the manager and the team are going to need the fan base more than ever. So I would just hope, it's great that you're doing well now, but you've just got to stick together during those difficult moments. That's what I would say on it, because I think Matt Sadler deserves the fan base's support.
I want to bring some comments from the rest of the guys. I just want to read this comment from James Evans. It's a low bar, to be fair. And you can't argue with that, James. That's a spot on comment. Darren, I think you've got some.
Yeah, I thought, to be honest, I know you went to quite a few of the games last season. I thought they were the fans were incredibly patient, actually, up until the last few weeks. Look at our away support last season and the numbers that come to support us. It was only, I think, that was it the Accrington game when the reaction started to turn a little bit sour towards the end. I thought we were incredibly patient after. I think the context of what's happened over the last 10 years, I can understand why people are. I'm still mentally scarred from last season.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I think there's, we all want us to do well, right? I couldn't care less if, I'm not going to turn around and if we do get promoted this year, Stadler's still terrible. Fair play. But I think the context of where we are as a club with the Bonsi years, the Pomcast years, as I call them as well, and what happened, let's remind ourselves, a record capitulation in the Football League history, right?
Yeah.
I can understand why people might be a little bit nervous, but at the moment, can't complain, right? And I think you're right. Like, if it's 3 or 4 games, it absolutely should not be getting on the team's back and stuff. But if it turns into a 10, 15 game spell again, I can't see that. I think it's just a human reaction, personally.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I do understand. I do understand that side of it.
Does Aidan Flint, do you think his presence would stop anything like that happening?
It's easy to be wise after the event. Aidan Flint in January, and it wouldn't have happened. I got PTSD from last season. I shouldn't joke about PTSD, but I genuinely have got PTSD from last season. It's like there was an article in When Saturday Comes about the Accrington game. I just couldn't read it. It was just words that just wouldn't make sense. In terms of Flint, you can see why he's had the career that he's had. Incredible shape for his age. An absolute winner. Absolute winner. I saw a comment earlier on this. Best centre half since Adrian Vivash.
Yeah.
Probably the Adrian Vivash. I don't think I've ever seen anybody who hated losing as much as Adrian Vivash. And I think Flint probably runs him close. Flint is a winner in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And I think if we get into a situation a bit like last season, there'll be people pinned up the dressing room. He was the player that we needed.
Yeah.
Absolute winner.
Frankie, I think the Harrison Burke and Evan Weir, would you agree that they're going to massively improve as players playing alongside Flint?
Well, they should, but the thing is, you got to remember is Flint is your tall and your mass defender who can head the ball away. They're both much smaller and much more ball winners and more like to score goals. And I think you can take the same defensive attributes from them, but they're not going to be as physical. But I do think Aidan Flint is the most. Probably will, if anything goes wrong, he'll probably just scare the team into doing it right. Because it is. I don't think Matt Sadler could beat him in a boxing match.
No, I don't think so.
Simon, not on this, not a dig anywhere. If you're a professional footballer and you can't learn from Aidan Flint, you may as well pack it in. You may as well stop playing, because he's an example. For me, he looks like an example that you can't not learn from.
I think the thing is, I think Frankie's right to mention his physical size, but it's his positional nous and his guidance of the defence, which I think is the big thing. I want to touch on something I saw on Twitter. We know DJ and all the conversations that went on with that last season. He's at Hartlepool now. Yesterday, he had 7 minutes off the bench. So obviously, I don't think Matt Sadler was that crazy. If nobody else, if Hartlepool going down a couple of levels, he's still not playing him regularly. I think there's obviously an issue with DJ where he's not in a health condition where he can play 9 minutes, or there's another issue.
He wasn't the answer last season, I don't think so. Whenever I saw him, I thought he was nowhere near the level. So, that's a non-issue from my point of view.
Yeah,
I think that he was more of a player the fans could use to say, "Look at him, he gets goals," to kind of like punch it, like to cake in the face of Matt Sadler, instead of like some of the fans did like him, but you could also is like a battering ram to like accuse him of how bad he was, and when he gets bad, there'll be a play like that where it's like, Sadler, look at this player, he's doing so well, why is he not playing? It's a way to kind of go against him to make him look to like the fans can get one up on him. It's like quite.
Yeah, I think this is a good comment here from Big Papa Danny. If Sadler was more honest and transparent, he's quite guarded, isn't he? Darren, from your perspective, why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of the modern manager, like positivity above all, which I think with the people of Walsall doesn't sometimes go down very well. I think because we're from, proper working class, black country background, we just want to be told as it is sometimes. I understand it's not going to be every week. If we play, he's not going to hang all the, like Flynn did, for example. He's not going to, I'm not saying that, but there was a few times I thought, especially last season, that where he could have at least a little bit called it out and not gone on with this faux, we're hard luck story. Just to try and motivate the players, actually. So I can completely understand that sort of point of view. But we're in the modern era, and we're not going to have a Ray Graydon or Colin Lee or what have you come out and tell it as it is, I don't think, anymore. But yeah, I think it's a symptom probably of the modern game. It's probably happens at every other club. I mean, Gab probably knows better more than most, but it does. I will admit, it does get to me sometimes, but I understand it's part of the modern way of approaching things.
Do you not think, to sort of turn that on its head sometimes, though, Darren, sometimes managers are in a position where anything they could say might not be taken positively? Because I think it might feel like that sometimes. I
think as well, we will, again, come back to the context of what we've been through over the last 10 years, I think.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of I think there's a bit of impatience. I think we've been incredibly, as I mentioned before, incredibly patient. And I think it's starting to wear thin a little bit. It's probably an easy stick. If we're winning and we go up last season, there's no comments, right? So I'm a little bit, I can understand, but I'm not saying every week. I'm just saying if not every single game coming out saying, I don't want to turn this into like anti-Sadler stuff. But
of course.
Just referring to that comment, just to make clear that I can understand from the context, from what happened, just tell it as it is sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure. Daz, what's your thought, Daz, on that?
I think he's the polar opposite to Darryl Clark, and that I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. If you look, what Clark did after is neither here nor there for this. I was long tired of Clark while he was here. Port Vale kind of did me a favour, to be honest with you, on that one. Yes, he's guarded. Yes, sometimes you can call stuff out. But we can't have it both ways, can we? We can't have somebody that's sensible and level and kind of keeps the waves kind of shallow. I'd much rather have that than the nonsense we had before.
The other thing I would sort of make, the other point I would make is I think the club right now is in the healthiest position that it's been for at least, I don't know enough about the history of Walsall's football club in terms of the pre-Bonser era, but I would certainly say that the position of the football club now is the healthiest it's been in the last 30 odd years, going back to the beginning of the Bonser era. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Frankie, loving it?
What part of it? Because there's a lot of parts I love and parts that I hate. It's Sadler. I do think I do like him, and I'd rather him say that instead the whole squad's terrible. But I just sometimes I get Barrow. I go back to Barrow, and I just want a manager who at Barrow he goes down the dressing room first. And we saw that with Flynn. Just stand there and accept the fan anger at you. Let your players go. Let your backups go. Stand there and try and talk to fans. Because at Barrow, he was a bit like when he just walked away, and you felt like we're having a go at Byfield, who doesn't really have much say, when we were trying to get at Sadler.
I think it's the moment, though. I think sometimes speaking to fans, literally in the aftermath of a defeat like that, I don't think that's the moment. I think at fans forums, I think if you ask him questions at fans forums, I imagine he'd be reasonably happy to answer them. But I think in the aftermath of a game, I don't think it's
It didn't happen this year, Gab. probably
Was it not?
probably a good idea. But can I just? One of the things stick to what he said last season, I think the pressure was getting to him, which annoyed me. He made some comment around, this is football. I'm sure a lot of people expect us to be 20 points clear or something. No, we were never 20 points clear at any point last season. What we expected was some competence and to get promoted from that position. So that was I think that's when we could tell the pressure was being ramped. That was one of the first times I think the mask kind of slipped in terms of seeing the frustration last season. Personally, yeah.
I'd like to add as well. Like it's probably not. It's not his fault. It's probably also the club. Like every interview was the exact same question and the same answer, and it just you could guess what he was going to say. It didn't feel like anything new.
It's quite a standard reply to sort of keep guarded almost. I'm just looking through previous Walsall managers, and you're thinking of the character. Richard Money, he didn't particularly have a good relationship with the fans. He was quite guarded. I think his most interaction with the fans was doing this when we were winning, and he couldn't hear the fans.
And he also got promoted, Simon.
Yeah. Ray Graydon again. He was sort of quite dispassionate. Same with Chris Nichol and Alan Buckley. And
I do think football's chat. I do think we was talking about it before we went on air. It's like 20 years since we had Joe Murphy playing for us. Could not believe it. And I think, especially from the style of football, but also what we've discussed in terms of media and stuff, it's just changed. You couldn't say what Graydon or Nichol or Money did 20 years ago now. No chance. Go on, Dad.
I've mentioned this before. I think the way that the club media now controls the output has affected this, because in the old days, the local journalist at our level could ask some difficult questions, and the manager would have to answer them. If the club's media at Barrow, let's use Barrow as the example, if the club's media had come out and says, what the bloody hell was that? We were clueless all day. He'd be looking for a new job on Monday. But that's really the question that needed to be asked, not the question that inevitably does get asked is, what positives can we take out of today? And the answer was naffle. It's the way club media kind of smothers everything makes it very difficult for a manager to have an angle at times.
Yeah. I think at the moment you have to appreciate that sort of he's gone through a rough spell. And I think what we certainly got to give him massive credit for, if we look at our starting 11 on Saturday compared to the team we had for the majority of last season, you got Jellis and Connor Barrett, and then a whole new team. And the fact that he's set up a style of play, everybody knows their jobs, and he brings somebody in. This is your job. This is what you do. And so that recruitment has enabled us to sort of hit the ground running, whereas Tranmere made lots of changes, brought lots of players in, and they're still not quite as cohesive as they'd like to be. But Walsall have hit the ground running. So again, away from individual performances and individual character, from an analysis point of view and a setup point of view, I think we need to give him lots of credit for that.
Not one of the players that started on Saturday started at Wembley.
Yeah, it needed to change, didn't it?
Yeah, Connor Barrett came on at Wembley. Not one of the players that started at Wembley.
But the fact is the style of play has not changed. We've just recruited players that play those positions and be able to just chop and change them. So I think that's a massive thing. Martin Crowley's put a point here. DJ didn't get a lot of games last season because he was arriving late for training and other players were not pleased about it. Does Sadler have to admit that to the fans? Well, I think it'd be wrong of him to discuss that in the media. So I think that probably explains why. So if that is true, that explains a lot. Right then, next one. We've got possession stats will never be good when we hoof the ball straight to their keeper and it comes straight back to us. We definitely need another striker to join us in January. Simon is chairman of the Matt Sadler fan club. Big time. Yeah, Aussie's had quite a bit of criticism of Matt Sadler. And to be honest, I think like many of us, I've been on the fence, and I think back in November of the season before, I'd sort of fell off the fence, and then he turned it round. And so, yeah, whilst I am a fan of Sadler, I'm not a 100% fan. But while he's manager, we've got to back him.
I think for me, Simon, the only redemption is when we have a P next to our name in May. But I'd say that's where I'm at personally.
Well, I think
that's the only redemption.
If we get promoted, which I'm certainly hoping we do, then I think all is forgiven. Do you agree, Daz?
I'm over it now. I said before, I went to Leamington pre-season friendly. Could have thought of anywhere. I'd have rather been anywhere else, but it was really therapeutic for me. And I came away from Leamington ready to go again. And it's done. Can't change it. As I say, I'll always have PTSD from it. It'll always be there, but I'm over it now. Breaking over it again ain't going to get us any further forward. The only way we're going to get further forward is to move forward, you know.
Let's move on. Are we nervous about left wing back? Obviously, we've got Mason Hancock's out injured. Vinny is doing quite well there, and we've got Al-Kiki as cover.
Do we know how long Mason's out for, say, by any chance?
He's expected to be back January.
Oof, that's a while there. Oof. Right, okay.
Yeah. But Al-Kiki has looked pretty good when he's come on. Frank, what do you think? Is that something we should be worried about or not?
The thing you have to worry about is Harper's a good player, but the reason he's at us is because he's injury prone at Exeter, and that's what we kind of knew about. And the thing is, if he gets a bad knock, it could be him out. And we haven't seen a Kiki down the left hand side. I don't think we've only really seen him on the right hand side this season. And I do think he looks like a good player, but Harper also enjoys. But he just has to survive till January and hope that Hancock comes back fit.
Did anyone, Frank? I don't know if you saw Frank or anyone in the first half. There was a moment where Vincent Harper was running for the ball, and he sort of fell over under very little pressure, and it did sort of suggest something around sort of balance or physicality or slightly.
Yeah, he slipped over last home game. Actually, he slipped over. It was the moment that made me smile, to be honest. He ran about 40 yards, slipped over, and then got up and still got the ball and won a foul. So I was quite pleased with that. But he has lost his balance a couple of times. Maybe wearing studs could be the issue.
To be honest, when he goes down, my heart jumps in the head for a second. It's like, is he injured? And then he gets back up. I'm like, oh, he's not.
So I think Al-Kiki, we need to see more of him. We know Courtney Clark can help out on that side, and on the left side as well. We do have some cover there, but it's not perfect. Not perfect cover. I think it's fair to say.
3 yellow cards in 5 league starts.
Vinny,
keep an eye on it.
Yeah, 3 in 5. Vinny.
Yeah, he played at Stoke as well, so it's 3 in 6, but 5 league starts, 3 yellow cards. So that will couple more yellow cards, and you start looking over your shoulder.
That's Barrett numbers.
Yeah, that's a bit of a concern there. As Frankie quite rightly said, Akiki is more sort of right side favoured, really. We know Courtney Clark can help out there, but when Courtney Clark played against Shrewsbury, at wing back. He didn't look like he was very happy there. He looked a bit grumpy, and then came alive when he moved into the middle.
It's not Barrett numbers, Frank. It's who's the guy who's at Solihull now? Josh Labadie numbers. They are.
Oh yeah. Not a single. It was like no red card, like barely a red card, but like it was like I swear everyone else got like one yellow card. He had like 20. So like mental like that. It was just,
thankfully, we don't have any Labadies here at the minute.
Yeah, but it was also the captain, which made no sense.
What was that game where he came on with 10 minutes to go, and the manager said to him, "Whatever you do, don't get booked," and he got booked within 2 minutes. It's just absolutely madness.
He was the footballing director who brought him in. It was he's a bit of an idiot, wasn't he?
James Fullerton.
Oh yeah.
Oh, don't start Gabriel on him. He'll be off on his soapbox with him. Let's move on from that very quickly. Daz, we've already talked about Aidan Flint and what a great benefit he's been for us. Do you think with the Priest and Rico Brown, we have adequate cover there?
I think we've got enough cover in defence. Yes, we've got a slight issue for sure. Well, for a couple of months, 3 months at left back, but you've got alternatives across there. You've got 5 or 6 centre halves who can all fill in for one another. I think we've got other areas that are more pressing than bringing players in or worrying about that. You look at the players. None of it are 5% apart. Let's be honest. The others, they don't tend to have, or their careers haven't suggested there's any long-term injuries knocking around. And I know I've probably killed one of them now, so apologies for which one goes over on Saturday. But I think we're all right at the back. I think there's other areas where we're shorter.
I think for any team to get promoted, they need to have reasonable luck with injuries. I think that's fair to say. Next item on my list is my big personal announcement. A few people have probably heard this. I did have somebody message me and say, "Are you coming out?" and that sort of stuff. I don't know whether he wants a night out or something. I don't know. But I have signed up to do a stand-up show. So I'm going to be doing stand-up comedy.
Oh, brilliant. Where's that?
That's Rosie in Birmingham, 14th of December. And I'm raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Sort of children with sort of in end-of-life care kind of situations, and sort of giving them sort of special memories.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So so I'm looking forward to doing that. I've got a link I've just put in the comments for anybody who wants to sort of make a contribution to that. I will also be doing a warm-up event before that, which is likely to be 30th of October in Wolverhampton, but that's not 100% confirmed yet. And if I think there's sufficient demand there, I'm going to be putting some events on, some Walsall Fan TV events on next year. So maybe in January I'll have put a stand-up show on at Walsall, and then we got a couple of other events in mind as well. I've had a chat with the club, and I've had some positive response from them. So that's something to look forward to. But yes, a personal challenge of mine. I'm not going to give up my job. Well, I've not really got a job. It's not something I'm immediately looking to go into as a full-time career. It's more sort of like a personal challenge that I'm sort of going for. So I'm writing jokes every day as part of my challenge. And I've got some training that actually starts the day before the Wolverhampton event. So I'll be doing that without training. So that might be a car crash. But we'll see. So yes, I'll give you updates on the channel. But my big announcement. I'm going to do some stand-up. Scary.
Brilliant stuff.
Daz, anything would you like to join the stand-up show?
I think Darren already started when Darren was comparing Colin Lee to Ray Graydon. I think he'd already started. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to cover, Rico, Ram, Jake Holman. So I've sort of mentioned this briefly on the channel, I think. Last season, we were neck and neck with Port Vale, and Port Vale got promoted, as we know. But now we're developing Rico at the expense of Ronan Mayer and Jake Holman. Thoughts on that first, Gab Sutton?
Yeah, I think I feel like Ronan Mayer has been around the scene at Walsall for a long time, and it's possibly a bit of a frustration, I imagine, that he's maybe not got the opportunities that his talent has merited. And I think, you know, in terms of motivation for the academy, if you're doing brilliantly on your progression plan, ripping it up in non-league, which he has in the National League North, and I think more recently in the National League as well, it's sort of like, and he's still not really getting a look in. And I think Walsall were trying to offload him right at the end, or looking into that at the end of the window. It sort of feels like, well, what's the motivation for somebody coming through the academy? I get the aspect where, you know, Walsall maybe don't play with an actual number 10, and there's challenges fitting him in, and there's other options there. But yeah, I would think I would like to see Ronan Mayer a bit more involved. But I'd love to hear how you lot feel about that.
Yeah, so same question, Daz.
I think he played himself out of a move at Shrewsbury with the left back problem. He went in and played at left back at Shrewsbury, and did really well for what it's worth. I think that collectively the back four had a difficult half an hour, but they looked really solid as they grew into the game and began to understand the roles. And with us being a little bit short at left back, Sadler's already seen within his squad a player who, if push comes to shove and he needs somebody to fill it for a few weeks, he's got somebody. And I suspect he did himself out of a move playing that well at Shrewsbury, and I expect him to see him there when we play our next game in that competition. Which, for the life of me, I can't remember who we got next. But
Chelsea.
I think Gab's right.
Yeah.
I think he's the longest serving player. I think he's been around for a while. Clearly divides opinion. There's people that rate him, there's people that don't. But that's the same with every player. Doesn't seem to fit the manager's plan, but at the same time, it doesn't seem the manager is all that comfortable with letting him go either. So, as I say, I think he did a really good job at Shrewsbury, and I think probably too good a job for his own career.
Yeah, because I think ideally, as I understand it, he wants to play further forward, and of course, during the under-18s with the academy, he played for much further forward and was the leading scorer. So, but I can't see him being deployed as a second striker. It is.
I suppose the challenge you have. Sorry to kind of cut you in like that. I think I suppose the challenge you have is that, you know, Matt Sadler seems to like really physical or aggressive number 8s in the way that he plays, and I suppose Ronan Mayer would see himself as more of a technical player. But then there's also an argument for saying when you've got somebody of that kind of ability, you'd like to get them into the team. So it's a tricky one. Yeah.
Frankie, Jake Holman.
I don't think he's hasn't impressed me as much as I'd like him to. I thought, oh great, we've got an Australian our team, someone different. But I think Mayer's better than him. And that's the honest truth. I think Mayer is better than him. And I hope he looks better, because we've got him for a bit of time, but I don't know how good he is, but Mayer, in my opinion, what I've seen of him, when he gets the ball, he looks better, and Holman just his midfield play isn't what up to scratch. He's not near jealous in the ability to like compete for its place. And I think Sadler's kind of realised that, and I think maybe give him time. He is from a different country. He doesn't know. He hasn't experienced how they play. But I think the one thing that he has over Ronan Mayer is that he can run, and I think that's the reason why he might be preferred more than Mayer, because he can actually run up and down the pitch.
Darren?
Yeah, I think it's hard to make a judgment on him, to be honest. I think we discussed on the last fan chat that, it's going from a 24 game season to, 46 game season over 9 months in League, in League Two, in the cold winter of the UK. I think he's a long-term project, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went out on loan or something in January just to get his game time up. But it's hard to make a judgment on him, right?
The physical side of
the physical side, I think
perhaps
he's
a challenge
there in that respect, personally, from what I've seen. So it's hard, can't judge him as a player. Let's see how he does when he's played games in this country, I think. Yep.
Yeah, I think at Shrewsbury he did play one excellent ball through for a domer, I think it was. So there's definitely some ability there. It's just getting him the right kind of game time. But I think Darren's spot on there. I think perhaps National League for 6 months, maybe from January.
I think we're past that point. So I think he should be playing League Two football now, or football league games now, whether that's for Walsall or not. I think it's past the point of loan him out. I think that's kind of just kicking the can down the road. I think he's either got to go in right into the first team squad and be an option, or he's got to go somewhere that are going to play him. I think we're reaching that crunch point.
Yeah, well, of course you've got. The thing is, you're looking for who's going to make the bench, and it's a great situation to have when you've got it's who's going to make the bench is quite a challenge, because we had Rico, Ram, Holman, and Okiki, and only one of them made the bench.
Yeah, I think I'd say something about Rico. I think I haven't seen him play. I haven't really seen him play, and I think my gripe at him is he was on transfer deadline day. We thought we've just lost Barrett, we've just lost Gordon. We're going to get a striker finally, and then we bring in the replacement. We bring him in because Hall went to Port Vale, and the rumours were we were going to get him, and it was just a bit like a little bit of a disappointment that we didn't end up with either one of those. We didn't end up with a Hall or a striker, and I think maybe he will be good, but I think at the moment it's that disappointment I don't think it's his fault. I think it's just a disappointment we didn't get a striker in the end.
Yeah, and Gabriel, just as far as Rico Richards is concerned, all the data I looked at, he never really played up front as a second striker. He was more of a left-sided midfield, attacking left-sided midfielder. Have you got evidence? Have you seen him play further forward?
No, yeah, I would say he's a versatile forward. He's certainly not an out-and-out striker, and I certainly wouldn't have him as that kind of on-the-shoulder striker like Daniel Carney was. I think he's much more of a between-the-lines type player, which probably, maybe calls into question how the club's handled Ronan Mayer, because I think he could have done a similar job and been a permanent asset. So, I think Rico Richards is a good signing. I think he's going to make a difference. He did well for Port Vale last season, but I don't know quite where he'd fit into to the starting 11, because I think he's more of I'd class him as a versatile withdrawn forward rather than who can play wide rather than an out striker.
This is my frustration, because from what I've seen of him, he looks very similar in style as to Ram. So that's what my opening question with that was. We're developing Rico Richards, a Port Vale player, and restricting game time for our own player. And that was
You want to be generating value for Walsall rather than Port Vale. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, if Rico Richards was coming from the Villa and we were developing players for the Villa, they're at a much higher level than somebody we're developing for Port Vale. And that was sort of the frustration. But I guess if he does well for us and scores goals and helps us get promoted, then everyone's happy. But that is just my concern. Just before we finish off, a cheeky question from Street Ender Tonka. Where does Gabby see us finishing in May? He's going to say top, I'm sure. Go on.
Good question. I had you 9th before the season. I'd certainly put you in the top 7 now. I'll go for around 5th now if you're asking me to change. Well, I mean, I'm curious to see what the rest of you think. Are you more optimistic than you were at the start of the season?
Can I answer that for everybody? After last season, we don't expect anything until the last game of the season. We won't be really counting anything. Has anybody got any counter to that?
I haven't seen. Go on, Frank.
I think even if we do get promoted, I'm still worried that we somehow get a point deduction. I'm not happy until that League One whistle goes and we've kicked the ball.
Oh dear. Hang on, this is a random as well for Gabriel, I guess. What does Gab think about Man United fans still giving Grimsby Town fans grief on Twitter?
I don't have a particularly strong opinion on it, but I was keen to hear what Darren and Daz think about the rest of the season.
Go on then.
Do you want me to go first?
Go on.
Go on, Daz.
I haven't seen anything in this division that should frighten us. I think we're playing a lot of the top teams. I think it's a more even division than it's been for a while. I think there'll be a few teams that struggle. I don't think there's 3 clear great teams. January will be interesting. I think there are clubs with resource that will spend in January. And you saw Port Vale did that last year and boosted where they were, and that may well be what catches up with us in the end. I don't think we're in a false position, but I think there's a long way to go.
January could be huge, I think. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll put my hands up. I didn't think we'd have this start, to be honest with you. I was expecting a hangover from last season. So fair play. We're in a brilliant position. Got to celebrate that and try to enjoy it. My 2 concerns are, as you mentioned, January. We need to have a good January. The second concern is we're in September. We all saw the effects of sad ball in February and March and April of last season, right? And the season before, by the way. The same thing happened. We tailed off in his first season as well. We had 11 points from the last 11 games in his first full season. We all know what happened last season. So I think we need to come through January, and we need to come through. I hope we talked earlier about rotation with the squad. I hope he's learned, because those 2 things for me yet to play out. As long as we go up, I'm not bothered. But I'm still a little bit cautious, but I think with good reason.
Yeah,
I hope we go up. Mainly for my 2 boys who were there on Saturday. I hope they get something to cheer.
That's it, Frankie.
It's just I think January, you all said, is the key part. I think I've ever seen us have a good January, and that's not a great thing. If we can have a good January and we don't lose Carnu and we don't lose the players we want and we actually grow, well, I think that's promotion, and I think that's if you said at the start of the season you're gonna have a great January, you think that's promotion anyway. We just need a good January once in a while, and I do hope we get promoted, because I don't want to see another season where we're stuck in League 2 again, because I think if we can't get promoted this season and we have a good start like this and we get this close again, I don't think we're ever gonna get promoted. But I got a question for Gab. Do you think we could win the playoffs?
Good question. I'm hard to say. I mean, it's a long way off, isn't it? I think it's hard to say sort of speculatively. I think for me, the big option, I've mentioned the number 6 position. We've talked about left wing back. The other area I would say is you've got to make sure that you've got enough depth in those attacking centre forward positions. Yeah. So I don't think you can rely on Jamil Matt and Albert Adoma as your backups in the second half of the season. So regardless of whether you keep Daniel Carney for the second half of the season, I would actually be looking at bringing in 2 strikers, one who can be a rotation option for Presley in that target man role, and another option he can rotate with Carney to be that sort of in behind sort of striker, so that you've got that rooster and you can rotate them in the second half of the season. So again, I go back to it. I think January is going to be huge for Walsall, whether that's for winning the playoffs or going up automatically.
Yeah, I think in conclusion, for me and for the show tonight, I think by when we come to January, I think we're going to be in a good position. And if we, as Frankie says, if we don't cock up January, we should be able to sort of get ourselves over the line and finally get ourselves promoted. Key things for January is not losing players as well. Connor Barrett, there's a lot of people going to be coming for him. And the way Evan Weir's smacking these free kicks in, there's going to be more questions there as well. So, yeah, protecting the squad we've got.
What it is, Si, is that you want to, even if you sell a player but loan them for the second half of the season, it's that kind of thing where it's like, we Walsall have to sell players, have to be a selling club to be sustainable. That's just how things are. But sell them in the summer. So that's, I think, what I imagine what fans have to ask, really.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think final word from everybody. I think we're sort of full on for time, really. Just a reminder, we are a point ahead of where we were this time last season. So maybe we're sort of looking at sort of being 20 points clear by January, just to make sure. Final word, Daz?
Let's keep going.
Keep on going. Keep marching forward.
Let's keep going. Stick together.
What's this? I would be against Clark. Become a complete utility player and being backup option for the forward line. Clark, interesting. Yeah.
I like Clark.
Yeah, Clark's good, isn't he? Adoma. I think now he's got his 100 goals. We'll have to be careful he doesn't retire. But I mean, we'll see. Frankie, final word.
I think this season's going to be it's going to be a long and winding road, but as long as we stick together, keep our mind focused, get behind the team at least. You don't have to get behind the manager, but as long as you're behind the 11 players on the pitch at all times, I think we will get to that. Hopefully, the promised land of League One.
That's what I like to hear. Darren.
Yeah, just what Dad said. Yeah, just enjoy it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can all be celebrating in May, and not like what happened at Crewe. Still very hurt by that, but just keep on. We're so early in the season, still got a long way to go.
Absolutely. Final word, Gab.
Up the Saddlers.
Up the Saddlers. Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks, Gabriel, for joining us. Thanks, guys. It's been good. Phil wasn't able to join us today, but he's on match day vlog duty next weekend because I'm on holiday. So there'll be an interesting different view. It's always good to hear stuff from Phil. Very smart, knowledgeable guy. So for me, the joy and the pain, let's just hope that this season, the joy takes us all the way. Thanks for watching. Nice one. Cheers, guys.